Smash Ultimate has hundreds of gaming series represented in some way. While stages, items, and spirits all really bump that number up, about 40 of those universes belong to the main appeal, fighters. While some universes have a healthy number of fighters in them, some only get one or two. So today, I want to play a little game. I want to go through each series that has a fighter in Smash and figure out one new one that could be added to the roster. For some series, this will be pretty easy, and for others, we're gonna have to do some thinking. But as with all things in history, we have to start with Mario. The Mario series already has a considerable number of fighters in its ranks, and it has pretty much everyone you'd expect to be in the game, except one guy, Waluigi. Waluigi being only an assist trophy since Brawl has always felt strange, but when the Mario series had a smaller number of fighters, it was kind of easy to overlook. He's just a spin-off party sports game guy, so that makes sense. But when Ultimate added Daisy, it sort of made Waluigi's absence all the more noticeable, since she is also a spin-off party sports game girl. And I honestly think he could be made pretty interesting. Giving him a moveset that mashes those elements together, sports and Mario Party, where he represents all of those different little spin-offs, I think that just seems so neat.
Where Paper Mario?
I can already hear you typing. Well, Paper Mario would definitely be my number one pick, but I'm trying to think like Smash. And if Paper Mario was added as a fighter, I think they definitely split him off to represent the Paper Mario universe, instead of being a part of the regular Mario universe. I mean, they separate Yoshi and Wario into their own universes, even though those are both Mario characters too. Smash just gets really weird about these things, so Paper Mario would definitely be by himself. For as important a series Donkey Kong is for Nintendo, it's kind of amazing it only has 3 total fighters. But then I thought about it, and there just aren't that many Donkey Kong characters I would consider worthy of a spot in Smash. Like what, are we gonna add Kiddy Kong? So Dixie Kong is the obvious answer here. She's Diddy Kong's girlfriend, she's playable in about as many games as the other Kongs, and she was considered as a fighter all the way back in Brawl, meant to be a 2-in-1 with Diddy Kong. So that could be a lovely full circle moment for the character. And they could always make Funky Kong an Echo Fighter too, but obviously give him something to do with his surfboard, probably his up special. If this were happening in a hypothetical new Smash game, something cool they could do is give Donkey Kong an all-new moveset based on Donkey Kong Bonanza, maybe with the transformations or something. But then Funky Kong could get Donkey Kong's old moveset. That way both iterations of DK get represented. The Zelda series probably has the widest variety of characters, both in appearance and in how much they've changed from game to game. So for this one, we're gonna bend some rules a little. It is absolutely insane that we have 3 Links that all have essentially the same moveset. So, goodbye Breath of the Wild Link, and hello, Breath of the Wild Link. This version of the character got done so dirty. In essence, he's the same Link we've known in just about every Smash game, just with some tweaks. But he could be so much more. When I saw him back in Smash Ultimate's teaser, my expectations were so high. I really expected him to have abilities based on the 4 champions. Rivali's Gale for a recovery, a kind of limited reflectability, an electric move, some kind of healing. Like, I just had such high hopes, and absolutely none of them were met. So that's my pick for this series. Actually do a Breath of the Wild Link from the ground up. You could even throw in some Tears of the Kingdom elements if you really wanted to, but if we're just going by impact, I think Breath of the Wild was a much bigger moment in gaming than Tears of the Kingdom. Either way, it's not like we're losing the old Link, because both Young Link and Toon Link have essentially got you covered. A new Metroid series rep really feels like a guessing game. I think so much of the Metroid community's energy was focused on Ridley that now that we got him, I don't know who else there is. We can always go with the latest villain, so right now that would be Psylocke from Prime 4. I know he's a pretty big deal, and he first appeared back in Metroid Prime Hunters, so he does kind of have seniority over every other character, unless you wanted to put big-ass Kraid in the game or something. There's also Ravenbeak from Metroid Dread, which I think could work and would also highlight Dread's insane success and the crazy path it took to finally releasing. But looking at Metroid characters, the one that spoke to me most was making an Emmy playable. These things were such a big part of Dread's marketing, and you encounter so many of them throughout the game that they kind of became the face of the game aside from Samus herself. And there's no better evidence for that than the fact that it got an amiibo. And its movement could be so creative. They walk on all 4s while chasing you around, but then they can get up on 2 legs while actually scrapping. I think there's room there for a pretty creative moveset. Here's that first weird exception that Smash makes. Yoshi comes from his own series. This really limits options for reps, so I think it can be only one guy, Poochie. Debuting all the way back in Yoshi's Island, Poochie has really come to the forefront in recent years. He's on the box art in most recent Yoshi games, even getting his own side mode in Poochie and Yoshi's Woolly World. He's got his own amiibo, he's playable in Mario Kart Tour. He's definitively the first ever second Yoshi character. I have no idea how they'd make a full moveset out of him, but it's undeniable it would have to be Poochie. The Kirby series has one obvious exclusion, and it is Bandana D full stop. Not only is he the top request from the Kirby series, Bandana D routinely ranks highly on Smash Fighter polls that include any and all characters. He's regularly a playable character in Kirby games. Like in Return to Dreamland, he's the only playable character in that game that isn't in Smash. A far more interesting conversation would actually be who would be added if the Kirby series got 2 new fighters, because the options for that become much more varied. But that's not what we're here for. I feel bad saying so little about the Kirby series, but when the answer is just this obvious, that's just what happens. With Star Fox, there's the temptation to mention Slippy or Peppy as additional fighters. The problem with that is, all of these Star Fox characters have movesets that are basically completely made up. So while they'd be cool to see, it would basically just be Fox's moveset, but different, which is already what we have with Falco and Wolf. So I think Crystal would be an excellent inclusion. For one thing, she's already an assist trophy, so she has her foot in the door to being fully promoted. But she also has at least something to draw from. She can physically fight with a staff, but can also use it to use different abilities like Blast of Fire, Flight, and the ice that she uses in her assist trophy form. They could come up with some original ideas for her too, like the other Star Fox fighters, but she's got quite a bit to draw from already. Alright, this is a big one. As of Ultimate, the Pokemon series has the most fighters of any series, even beating out the Mario guys. And I guess that makes sense considering just how many Pokemon there are. It's honestly a little surprising we don't have more. New Pokemon reps are kinda strange because they are entirely based on what generation most recently came out. Each new fighter corresponded to the most recent generation of Pokemon games, with only a couple of exceptions. So at the current moment, a brand new Pokemon fighter would be from Scarlet and Violet. And personally, I like Meowscarada as the representative. Ever since Smash 4, when Charizard separated into its own fighter, and we got Greninja, people have been anticipating a Grass-type starter to complete the triangle. Ultimate almost did it with Decidueye, but Incineroar ended up winning, so we're still missing that final evolution Grass-type. Meowscarada also has some really cool merits too. The flower it carries around has all kinds of uses, able to tie up opponents or be used as an explosive. It can also hide the flower bombs in the ground, which could be useful in a Smash moveset as a little bomb to avoid. There's a lot of possibilities with this sort of telepathic flower that could be used in Smash, since they do occasionally take their liberties with the Pokemon. But like I said, this answer is pretty fluid. They've already revealed the starters for Pokemon Winds and Waves, so by the time we get a new Smash game, there's a very strong possibility that the new fighter would instead be the final stage of one of these guys, and the Meowscarada dream could be dead. The Mother series is such a weird one to talk about because of how dead that series is. For decades, Earthbound was the only title of the 3 in the series to leave Japan. We did eventually get Mother 1 in Earthbound Beginnings, and I wouldn't hold my breath for Mother 3 anytime soon. My safe pick for this series is to just throw in Ninten, the protagonist of Earthbound Beginnings, in order to have each game's primary protagonist represented. This kinda brings up a few issues though. For one, Ninten and Ness look incredibly similar. I mean, look at this. Anyone who doesn't know anything about Earthbound would just assume both of these are Ness. There's also the issue of making his moveset different enough from Ness and Lucas. I mean, the 3 links are proof that they aren't above copy and pasting, so maybe he could just be an Echo Fighter or even a skin just to simplify things. But outside of the Ninten pick, there's one more I think could be interesting. Let's talk about that hypothetical world where Mother 3 does actually get localized. So Nintendo finally gives in and releases Mother 3 on Nintendo Switch Online or even just as an eShop title. I think if that were to happen, then the Masked Man would be a great addition. He's already represented in one of Lucas's costumes, so it really feels natural for him to be a fighter. But I don't see them realistically adding him unless Mother 3 left Japan. Otherwise, they'd be calling even more attention to a game that they seem pretty intent on ignoring for the rest of time. F-Zero is another difficult series to pick a character from, mostly because the movesets would be entirely made up. Captain Falcon got lucky in essentially receiving the moveset from the placeholder characters from Smash 64's prototype. but even then he got some pretty creative moves that have nearly nothing to do with F-Zero. An easy answer would be Blood Falcon. He's already a costume for Captain Falcon, so it would be pretty easy to make him an Echo Fighter. He's like the perfect candidate considering he is a literal genetic clone of Captain Falcon. But that answer is also fairly vanilla, so let's mix it up a little. In this new hypothetical game I'm literally inventing, the F-Zero pick would be Black Shadow, another driver from the series, but one who could be seen as bigger and slower than Captain Falcon, and I would give him Ganondorf's moveset. And this is because Ganondorf would actually receive his own unique moveset, one that has nothing to do with Captain Falcon, but instead taps into his King of Evil character from any number of Zelda games. This way, we keep Ganondorf's old moveset, because let's face it, people love it and it's iconic, but Ganondorf can also receive better representation. Did I just use the F-Zero section to talk about another Zelda fighter? Yes, I did. Am I sorry about it? Well, that depends. Are you mad at me? The Ice Climbers series. Well, that's easy. It's gotta be the polar bear. I mean, look at that guy. This series is quite the contentious one, but even if you don't care for Fire Emblem, you have to admit that the non-clone fighters all have incredibly unique movesets. And looking at the trend, this is another series where the protagonist from the latest game is just gonna be the go-to pick. So if the character dropped right now, it would be Alear from Fire Emblem Engage. But Nintendo churns these games out, and a new game is already headed our way in 2026, Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. So give it some time and we're likely to instead see the new fighter for the series be the avatar characters from those games instead. It's a shame that Lyn has always missed the boat for each Smash game. She's such a popular character in the community, but she's always going to be beaten out by a new game's character because of how good an advertisement Smash is. But similarly to the Mother section, if Nintendo were to create a remake for Fire Emblem The Blazing Blade, or she was somehow really important in the next Fire Emblem game or something, then those are really the only circumstances I could foresee her being added. Well, if you've got Mr. Game & Watch, then you have to have a Mrs. Game & Watch. Give him a sweetheart, Sakurai. With how much love she already gets in Smash, it feels like Viridi would definitely be on the shortlist for new Kid Icarus fighters. She appears in the background of a stage, she shows up in some of the Palutena's guidance conversations, she's got a Mii costume, she even had voice lines in Palutena's reveal trailer back in Smash 4. The Smash developers definitely like putting her anywhere they can. As far as Smash is concerned, the Wario universe basically just means WarioWare. We get some very small representation for Wario Land, but it's so incredibly minor and is really an exception to the rule. And aside from Wario, the most popular WarioWare character by far is Ashley. She could be a really interesting full magic character, something that's rare for the Smash series. And once again, she's also an assist trophy and a Mii Fighter costume, so you could really see her being promoted very easily. But if you wanted a Wario Land rep, I'd probably go with Captain Syrup. She's appeared in several games in the series, going from rival in the early games to an ally in Wario Land Shake It. Unfortunately though, Smash hates Wario Land, so this would never happen. This series is another toughie, largely because the abilities of all the characters are basically the same, which is why Alf is just a skin for Olimar. But I think despite this, we fully separate Alf as his own character, but then give him the Koopaling treatment. Alf, Brittany, and Charlie all taking up different costume slots. Along with this, I think they get access to different Pikmin with different abilities. The original plan for Alf in Smash 4 was that he would use Rock Pikmin, so I think this character gets those, and then we'll throw in Ice and Glow Pikmin as well. I really think that's about all we can do, and while they would be a sort of echo, I guess, their gameplay could be a bit different thanks to the Pikmin types. It's truly unbelievable that Professor Hector from Gyromite has never become a fighter. The iconic character from this Rob-supported game, everyone knows this guy, and frankly, I'm shocked Sakurai hasn't added him yet. Okay, so the retro character universes are pretty hard to come up with additional fighters for, considering their limited content to pull from. So I'm going to create a more general retro universe. So instead of actually giving each of these series a new fighter, we're instead going to talk about a brand new retro fighter from a new universe. While characters like Excitebike or Balloon Fighter are often common choices, I prefer Takamaru from the mysterious Murasame Castle for the Famicom Disk System. In both Melee and Smash 4, Takamaru was considered to become a fighter, but being from such an old game that never left Japan, it didn't seem reasonable to include such a little known character like that. With his game finally releasing internationally on the 3DS eShop, and more widely added to the Nintendo Classics library, I think he could be just popular enough to finally make the cut in my imaginary world that I'm inventing on the spot. And as a samurai, he would be able to fight a little differently compared to the other sword fighters in the game. Tom Nook. I think if Isabelle didn't catapult into popularity with the fan base, Tom Nook would absolutely have been a second Animal Crossing rep. You could have some fun having him fight with bells, like a giant big bag, or stealing bells from other fighters, or I don't know, materials used to build houses. His final smash could even be him coming to collect on your debt, finding out you can't pay, and then killing you as a result. Those are a little silly, but I definitely think you could get creative with this one. This video is sponsored by Belkin. Has this ever happened to you? You're playing your Nintendo Switch 2 while traveling, and suddenly it dies and you don't have a way to charge it. Well, not anymore. With the all-new Belkin Charging Case Pro, you can charge and carry your Switch 2 with one single item. The Charging Case Pro improves on the standard model by adding a built-in internal power bank, which lets you charge your Switch without having to open the case. And you can charge while continuing to play thanks to the case's hinge system. Just prop the hinge up, slide the Switch 2 in, and keep on playing. And it comes with the quality you can expect from Belkin's 40 years of experience in the tech space. It's got a sturdy outside, so you know your Switch is safe. There's storage for game cards, a spot for cables and other accessories, and even a little slot for an AirTag or tile. It's also available in 3 colors, so you can pick the one that matches your vibe. This is perfect for those who are always on the go, but can't stop gaming. Pick up a Belkin Charging Case Pro for yourself by using the link down in the description. Alright, what the hell am I supposed to put here? The balance board? Okay, actually that would kind of be funny. We'll bend the rules here again, and instead of a Wii Fit character, we'll grab another Nintendo Fitness character, the Ring Fit Trainees from Ring Fit Adventure. You still get to create a moveset based on exercises, but you can involve the ring and the attacks that you perform in the actual game, which really helps to deviate from Wii Fit Trainer. We can have 2 exercise-based fighters in Smash, which is incidentally 2 more than I ever would have expected. Punch-Out has a ton of cool boxers that we could pick from, like the Mike Tyson. More realistically, I think Glass Joe would actually be hilarious as a joke character. His whole purpose in the Punch-Out series is as the tutorial character. He's the weakest in both defense and offense, and you almost have to try to lose to him. So I think it would be really funny if that translated over to a moveset in Smash. Think Dan from Street Fighter. He's a character intentionally designed to look sloppy. His moves are well telegraphed, he looks like he's doing everything for the very first time, and his fireball barely even leaves his hands. So take that whole concept and apply it to Glass Joe in a Smash moveset. Just a sloppy and weak character, but that's the whole point. It would be like taking Pichu's concept and then making it the entire moveset. This one is fairly straightforward. Noah from Xenoblade Chronicles 3, completing the protagonist trio from the numbered games. Another choice could be Elma, the protagonist from Xenoblade Chronicles X. However, that game's very much the black sheep of the series, and is only vaguely related to the main trilogy, so I think it makes more sense for Noah to be the new fighter. It's gotta be the Octolings, right? Octolings became just as iconic as the Inklings, to the point of being fully playable and customizable from the very start of Splatoon 3. I think this would be a neat opportunity to get a second chance at making a Splatoon moveset. Use all different weapons from the Inkling moveset and just see what you can do. I think that would be really fun. You could just add a very specific character from the Splatoon series, but that kind of gets away from the point of Splatoon, which is making your own customizable character. ARMS is interesting because the characters all have the same abilities, more or less. It's why we got Min Min as a fighter in the game rather than a more quote-unquote main character like Springman. The top 2 choices for the ARMS rep while the DLC for Smash Ultimate was being developed were Min Min and Ninjara, and Min Min won out because the director for ARMS personally requested her. So it stands to reason that next in line would be Ninjara, since he was literally next in line. But realistically, you can add anyone, so who cares? Springtron, I don't know. Raiden, straight to the point. He's an incredibly popular character for the series, playable in multiple games, even his own spin-off title, and of course, he's already an assist trophy. He would probably play quite differently from Snake too, so that's always an added bonus when there's a huge diversity in the series. And if you need even more evidence, he was the playable fighter in PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. Maybe that's actually not a good argument, never mind. Literally anybody. Just put a bunch of Sonic character names into a hat and pick one. I'm so baffled that after all these years, we don't even have a second Sonic rep. You could do Tails or Knuckles or Amy or even Eggman. Shadow as an Echo Fighter. I mean, that's not the best idea, but it's a second rep at all. It would feel kind of odd to have just one of the main trio. Like at this point, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles really feel like a package deal. But just put someone. I'm just so bad. Like, we'll take Omo Chow. With Mega Man representing all of Mega Man, sub-series and spin-offs and all, I think we have to go with Zero. He is far and away one of the most popular characters in the series, becoming so beloved in the Mega Man X games that he received his own spin-off series. He's also playable in multiple Capcom crossover games, even as the sole Mega Man character in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. That would be like including Luigi as the only Mario representative in a spin-off. Like, that's just how popular he is. Despite being a robot from the future, he's yet another sword fighter, but whatever, man, that's Zero. Man, I don't know. Miss Pac-Man? There really isn't a ton in the Pac-Man series to pull from. Like, you could do the ghosts, but there's not much to pull from there, or you could do one of Pac-Man's kids or something, but that would be just Pac-Man again. Even Namco is aware that there aren't that many Pac-Man characters to choose from. Look at the spin-off games like Pac-Man World Rally or Pac Fever. These are Pac-Man games that have just as many random Namco characters playable as they do Pac-Man characters. Like, why is Heihachi on the box art for a Pac-Man game? So I guess you can just go ahead and pick any Namco character, like grab Dig Dug or the Prince from Katamari or something. They're just as valid, apparently. In my mind, there's one character that really rivals Ryu and Ken's popularity, and that is Chun-Li. She's been in the series since Street Fighter 2. She's got an iconic design and has appeared in countless Capcom crossovers. She's kind of gone beyond just Street Fighter. She's a cultural icon. If you ask me, I think Chun-Li may have had a strong chance of being included in Smash Ultimate's roster. I think Ken beat her out only because of the Echo Fighter aspect. And you know, having Ryu and Ken together just feels right. But you give Street Fighter one more slot, and I think it's Chun-Li every day of the week. I mean, look at who the first two Street Fighter characters added to Fortnite were. That's all I'm saying. Final Fantasy in Smash is such an enigma because when you get down to it, it isn't the Final Fantasy series. It's just Final Fantasy VII. So I want to talk about this from several angles. If we're limiting ourselves to just Final Fantasy VII, then it's definitely Tifa. She's one of the most popular characters from that game, and her abilities mainly have her getting in your face and scrapping anyway. She's a fighter, so it makes sense. But we can also tackle this from the advertising aspect. Sephiroth, while indeed popular, was no doubt added because of Final Fantasy VII Remake coming out. So hypothetically, Square Enix could want a character from the most recent game, which currently would be Clive Rossfield from Final Fantasy XVI. The third way that this can be tackled is by adding another popular protagonist from another top Final Fantasy game. In this aspect, I think there's a conversation to be had about either adding Tidus from Final Fantasy X or Noctis from Final Fantasy XV. Both are incredibly popular games and characters, so frankly, I could see either one happening. But let's be real, it's Square Enix. I mean, they would add a second Cloud if they could. Who knows what they'd actually be down for. Bayonetta's fellow Umbra Witch, Jeanne, feels the most realistic. Unfortunately, this means she would largely share a similar moveset to Bayonetta, but it could be tweaked with different attributes, different knockback and combo potential, almost like a custom move and custom equipment version of Bayonetta. This one feels a little uninspired, but honestly, it's all I got. Sakurai himself gave us our next Castlevania rep, Alucard. He was nearly the pick for Smash Ultimate in the first place, but honestly, it would have been weird to not have a Belmont first. But after Simon and Richter, yeah, it's Alucard. He's probably the most popular character Castlevania has, and he would have a very unique and pretty fluid moveset. I would be really interested to see what they do with his character, because his assist trophy is one of my favorites. I think this one is a toss-up between the protagonists from either Persona 3 or Persona 4. Both seem pretty likely. If this hypothetical game was releasing today, I think it would probably be Makoto Yuki from Persona 3 because Persona 3 Reload is their most recent release. However, with Persona 4 Revival officially on the way, Yu Narukami would probably be chosen as the character if it was around the same time as this pretend Smash game. Or they could curse us all, and they could add Morgana as a fighter. Don't tempt Sakurai, I bet he'd do it just as a joke. The slime, I guess? That was the backup plan if Square Enix didn't approve of the original hero concept, so I guess that's who we go with? I mean, you could also pick any of the party members from any of the games, but that would be choosing from dozens of options. So I know this isn't a new character, but my real choice would be for every costume slot on Hero to be a fully different protagonist from a different Dragon Quest game. We do get a glimpse of that with his final Smash, all of the heroes coming together to enhance this attack. But how cool would it be if there were 8 different heroes to pick from? I mean, don't get me wrong, I love what we got. This is just in a perfect world scenario. I don't think you can add anyone here except Gruntilda. There aren't many characters in the Banjo-Kazooie series that do a ton to warrant a Smash moveset. They usually pawn it off on the Baron Bird to do literally anything in the game. But with Grunty, not only do you get to include a villain, which is always fun, but you could have some fun with her magic abilities and her flight. She certainly has less than Banjo and Kazooie as far as moveset inspiration goes, but honestly, she's the only character that's both big enough for the spot and has even something to pull inspiration from. Unless we wanted to add Bottles and his only move in the game is to literally die. If Sakurai was brave, he'd actually add Mai as a brand new Fatal Fury rep. Just tone her down a little maybe. Terry's universe is an interesting one because we can pull a fighter from 2 different series. We can either go with Fatal Fury, his technical home series, or King of Fighters, which is just as important as Fatal Fury. If we're pulling from Fatal Fury, I think Geese Howard is a pretty good pick. And if it's from King of Fighters, Iori Yagami. It's really hard to settle firmly on characters though, because the amount of representation added alongside Terry is insane. There are 20 characters on King of Fighters Stadium, and I feel like SNK would literally say yes to any and all of them. The idea I have for a new Minecraft rep is to actually pull Alex out of Steve's costume slots and turn her into her own character. For the most part, Steve's moveset is based largely on classic elements of Minecraft. So for Alex, I think it would be neat to invent a moveset that represents modern Minecraft, or at least the wackier aspects of the game. Give her enchantment, potions, ender pearls, let her place down stuff like Slime Box, just really get weird with it. Yes, I am advocating for a second annoying Steve to be added to the game, and you know what? I don't care. And an alternative is to add Jesse from Minecraft Story Mode. I don't really know much about these games though. I have no idea if that's a good idea. It's just, one of the few actual Minecraft characters that exist. For Tekken, let's just completely ignore Sakurai's reasoning and let's just put Heihachi in. If PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale can do it, why can't Smash? Was that 2 references to that game in one video? I'm putting out some real bad vibes today. Alright, but seriously, Sakurai put Kazuya in the game because of his Devil Gene abilities. So with that in mind, why not put Jin in? He's Kazuya's son, so he has the Devil Gene as well, meaning he can use his devil form to be more agile around the stage. Because Sakurai is right, playing as Heihachi in this game does really feel off. Like, he's not supposed to be moving at all like that. So it really does need to be somebody who can move around like that, and the Devil Gene was just the perfect mechanic for the situation. For a series with as many entries as Kingdom Hearts has, there is quite a number of fighters to potentially choose from. So, fuck it. Mickey Mouse. Nintendo can foot that $2 gazillion bill. I saw the Switch sales, I know what they got, they can afford it. Okay, realistically, it's gotta be Riku. He's a rare character where he's technically an ally now, but because of the overall story, he was evil at one point, so he has access to darkness and would use all sorts of abilities that are different from Sora's. Plus, he's the main rival, he's been in the series from day one, he's sort of a lock. Another simpler option could be making Roxas an Echo Fighter, which I do think would be really cool. I mean, it would be another perfect example of an Echo Fighter, what with Roxas being born from Sora and literally having all of the same abilities he has. But original characters are just cooler, so it's gonna be Riku. Smash technically considers itself its own universe, made up of all the Smash original content like Master Hand or Taboo. I don't think it would ever get its own full fighter, but I do wish we had gotten a Mii Fighter costume for the Primid, the main little grunt guy from Brawl Subspace Emissary. There are even sword and shooter based Primids, so you could have a costume for every Mii type. And speaking of Miis, the idea of a Mii Mage Fighter has been floating around for quite some time now. And I don't hate that idea, but I think I have something better. Over the years, Miis have done all kinds of activities based on whatever game they're in. But think back to the day the Wii launched. Their first ever game was Wii Sports. So how about the Mii Athlete? Give us a Mii that fights exclusively using sporting equipment. Tennis, golf, swords, hang gliding, frisbee, boxing. And for a fighter like that, I can think of only one character to properly represent this.